Hello my beautiful creative friends, I'm Katia with Lunar Sun Creations, and I have another project using Vectoria Designs papers. This one is using the Enchanted library collection, and it's a little different than anything that I've done before. I wanted to take an old book. I have a whole bunch of old books that I was gonna take to the thrift store, but I decided to maybe try and use a couple of them and give them new life and turn them into something else. So I decided to alter a book, which I've never done before, and yeah, make it into something brand new. And I love it, actually. I'm really stoked on it, so I think I might do this again. But I hope you enjoy it, and let's get into it. Okay, so here is what we're going to be making today. So it is an altered book. I've added a little metal charm clasp thing on there. It's the spine and the back. So when we open it up, we've removed some pages of a book and added in our own with a whole bunch of different pockets and such. And tons of room for journaling. This one here is a double pocket, just made out of the book pages themselves. This one here is a little flip out that just tucks back in there, and then there's a pocket up here. And then this is a double pocket again. And just some spots for journaling. This opens up like that. This is just an extra little flappity bit. So I wanted it to be mostly a journal, like lots of spaces for writing and such, but also spaces that you could maybe put photos or memorabilia or something like that. I've got an extra little piece that flaps out like that. And this flips up and then tucks back into that. This is another pocket. Got a pocket up here with a little booklet thing, and then down here we also have another little side pocket with some other little ephemera bits. So I think it's really simple, but I think it showcases the papers quite well. And it's just a fun thing to do. It's very low stress. Not a lot of measuring involved, a little bit different from what I usually do, but I think it turned out really cool. So I hope you like it. And let's go through the materials and the papers we'll use, and then we'll get going. Okay, let's go through the materials we will need for this project, and then we'll get started. So we've got an old book. So I tried to find one that was about the size of the journaling pages that I'm using. It's just a little bit bigger. I'd prefer to have one that was slightly shorter, but I got these from a free recycling bin, so beggars can't be choosers. Just find a book that is roughly the size of your journaling pages. There is also a second size of journaling page, so if you choose to use the larger size, then these will be a little bit taller. But these are the ones I printed, so I'm going with it. Okay, so old book, hardcover. You will need some ATG or score tape, or if you prefer, you could do everything using wet adhesive. This is just a PVA school glue. Some kind of ink and an ink dauber. If you want your book to look a little bit distressed, I do, so I'm going to ink up the edges of my pieces of paper and my pockets. That's optional though. A old paintbrush to spread the glue. This is going to be destroyed with the glue pretty much. I mean, you can clean it, but it doesn't seem to all come out. So I have two different paintbrushes that are just dedicated to glue, just from the dollar store. A pen to make some marks, a pair of scissors, paper trimmer, some white cardstock, or if you'd prefer to use a different color, that's fine. This is also optional. I'm just going to be adding a few extra flips and flaps into our altered book, but you don't have to do that, so this is also optional. And then we need our paper trimmer, or sorry, wrong tool. Then we need our scoreboard, bone folder, and scoring tool to make a few scores in the flaps that I was talking about with the cardstock. So if you're not using any cardstock to make some extra flips and flaps, then you won't need your scoreboard at all. So only if you're doing the extra flips and flaps. And then since we're using wet adhesive, I will be using some parchment paper just in between the pages as they dry. I'll just kind of be folding this in between the pages just so they don't stick together. So wax paper, parchment paper, you know, any kind of paper that won't stick. All right, and then we've got our paper collection. Okay, so I'll just flip through this quite quickly. These are all of the journal pages, and like I said, there's 3 different sizes. The really small ones, this is the second size, and then the full size goes almost all the way to the edges of the 8.5 by 11 cardstock. So some great imagery here. Wizards, fairies, cats, owls, I mean obviously books, fancy pens, butterflies, all kinds of lovely things. So yeah, I printed all of these out. There's quite a few of them. But some of the imagery is really beautiful. Like I love that library. Okay, and then we've got the full-size sheets and some beautiful kind of like repeating patterns. This is some keys, some flying keys. I did some of the repeating patterns twice because I wasn't sure how many I would need, that gold as well. So a bunch of them I did twice. The nice thing about getting printables is that you can print them out as many times as you think you'll need them. I love that Vectoria Designs did this because this is perfect for the cover, and that is what I'm going to use for the cover. It might not fit perfectly with the book that I have. We shall see. I might have to back it with something else, but that is going to be what I'm going to do for the cover. And then we've got your horizontal imagery. Sorry, these are not in order, so, but you get the idea. And then I love that they have the kind of like textured looking solid colors, so you can have some eye restage in between the patterns. Because pattern on pattern on pattern can get a little bit confusing, so you need that place for your eye to rest. These are really cool, the postage stamps. I think they'd be really good for swing tabs and such. Then you've got some file folders, a border. I think that I might use that border on the spine. And then just some other little bits and pieces, some circles, a little pocket. Some little bookmarks, which are really cute. More pockets and file folder pockets. Another pattern. All right, so it's a lovely, I didn't print out absolutely everything because it is a huge collection and I didn't think I would need all of it, but I did print out quite a bit of it. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of clear my area up and we will get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is make our book pages less. Like take half of them out is what I'm trying to say. Because we want room in our book to be able to put all the elements that we want to put in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count 4 pages and then remove 4 pages. I've already done that with the first one, so I'm going to count 4 more. And then I'm going to remove the next 4 just by tearing them out. This book has all the pages glued into it. If you have a book that is like sewn together with little signatures, then you should be able to find the center of each signature and actually cut the strings to remove the entire signature. There's lots of videos out there on that. But honestly, ripping them is just as easy. And if there's ever a point where they don't rip cleanly, and you've got a little bit, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little bit of the paper still in there, that's not a problem. We can just glue these 2 pages together and hide that. So don't fret if it's not perfect. Just go through and remove half the pages. So I'm just going to do that through the whole book. And keep 4, tear 4, keep 4, tear 4. And so that's what I'm going to do for the whole book. So I'll be back once I have done that. And keep all of these pages because there's so many cool things that you can do with book pages. You can use them in many other projects. Okay, so you can see that the book is quite a bit thinner now. These are the pages that I've taken out of it. Okay, so we've got some space now to work with. So I've kept the first pages because they're kind of already glued together a little bit. I don't know if you can see that. The first 2 and the last 2 are glued together already a little bit. So I'm just going to finish gluing them together and just stick them to each other so we don't have that bulking up. Just so you know, I switched glue bottles, same glue, but this one just has a smaller tip on it. So make sure you go pretty close to the edge, but not enough that it's gonna squish out. And then we're gonna go over this with the paintbrush just a little bit, just to smooth it out so we don't have any big lumpy bumpies. Okay, and we're just gonna close that up and just glue those together. Okay, and then we're just gonna go through, and if there's any spaces that have little bits of paper sticking up, we're gonna glue those pages together as well, just so you don't see all of that little extra rips of the pages. We want it to look fairly clean. Not perfect. This is a very kind of organic, you know, grungy almost kind of project. It's more on the junk journal kind of vibe as opposed to the very precise albums and journals that I usually do, where everything has to be very precise in its measurements and everything. This is the opposite of that. It's nice to not have to measure a lot sometimes. So I'm just going to go through, and anytime there is a spot where I'm seeing little bits of pages sticking up, I'm just going to glue that page to the one adjacent. I think most of them came out pretty clean. Here's a little bit of excess. I don't know if you can see it or not, but can you see that little bit sticking out there? It's not very much, but I'll just kind of go through and I will glue those pages together, and then we'll come back and we'll start creating some pockets and some fun bits and start adding our papers in and making it all pretty. Okay, so I forgot to mention that if you didn't want to use wet adhesive, you could use an ATG gun to adhere any of those pages together to hide your little rip marks. Okay, so I think I've got all of them done. So now let's start creating some pockets. So I'm going to leave one page free, and I'm going to go to this one here, and I'm just going to fold down this page at an angle, just like that. And then we're going to put adhesive on these 3 edges to glue it down to create a pocket. But I'm going to keep all of the pockets unadhered until I add the pattern paper, and we'll kind of add because that way I can add a piece of pattern paper on here, then adhere the pocket, and it makes it cleaner. You see, you don't have to like cut angles and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so that's all there is to it for the first pocket. Now you don't have to, but if you so desire, just to keep it a little bit organized, you can use paper clips, because now we know that these 2 pages here are a little unit. Okay, and then we'll just flip to the next page. Okay, so we'll leave the back of this one plain, and we will fold this one into a pocket like this. So we're just literally folding this piece of this page in half, and then we will adhere it here and here, and that will be another pocket. So before we move on, let's add one more pocket. So we're going to do the same thing, but just not as far. So we're going to fold this page in so that it's a little bit out from that first pocket. Okay, so we'll have a pocket here, and then we'll have another pocket here. So that's what it looks like. We've just folded it over part way. Okay, and then once we add our pattern paper, then we will adhere them down. So I'm just going to put another paper clip here. And also I want to ink all the edges, and it's easier to ink them before you glue them down. So that's another little unit. Okay, I think I'm going to skip one page because I do want to put all of these journaling cards onto the pages as well. So anytime I don't want to put a pocket, I'm going to put a journaling page. So I just want to leave a few pages here and there that will just be journaling pages. So I'm going to skip that one. On this one, let's do a side or a top loading pocket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure what the center of the page is, and then I'm just going to measure down maybe 2 inches. Make a mark there. Okay, and then I'm going to, at an angle, kind of draw lines from the edge of the page, top edges of the page, to that dot that I've created, and I'm just going to cut that out of this piece of paper. And if you prefer, instead of doing this kind of like triangle out of it, you could just take a hole punch and make a notch at the top of this one. We just want something that will allow you to grab what's inside. So this piece here is going to be adhered on the back side here and at the bottom, creating a top loading pocket. Okay? So these two are now a little unit. Now remember how I said that I wanted to add a few extra little flips and flaps here and there? So I've got a couple pieces of cardstock that are 6 by 8 1/4. And I'm just going to score each of these at 1 inch. So I'm just going to grab my scoreboard real quick. And I'm just going to score that at 1 inch. I'm going to score this other one at 1 inch as well. And then while I have my scoreboard out, I also have a couple pieces that are 5 1/8. They can be 5, that's fine as well, by 4 1/8. So 4 by 5 is fine. And I'm going to score those at 3/4. Okay, and I have 4 of those cut just because I cut one whole sheet like that. So I'm just doing 4 of those. And then for the last thing that I have cut, I've got 2 pieces that are 8 1/4 by 5. And I'm going to score them right down the center at 4 1/8. Okay, and just remember that these are all extra pieces. You don't have to do this. I'm just gonna add a few extras here and there. So for this one, I'm going to take 2 of the smaller pieces, those 4 by 5. I'm gonna add a little bit of score tape to that 3/4 inch section that we scored. Okay, I'm going to flip this open past that page that we just did, and I'm going to fold on my score line. Okay, I'm going to adhere this one up on the top edge of the back of the pocket that we just did. Okay, so it flips out, and I think I might adhere the next page to it, and that way it will hide the it will hide this part. So I'm actually going to do that. That hadn't been my original plan, but I'm just going to do this on the fly here, because that way it will hide it all nice and neatly. And I'm just going to use my ATG gun for this, as you can see. Okay, I'm just going to remove this paper clip for a second. I'm going to add the other one down here, and then we have one on each side. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to add the second one right down at the bottom of this page. I'm going to add one more little bit of adhesive there. And then, making sure that these are both open, I'm going to close them together. Adhere them together, I guess. Okay, so this one would fold this way, and the opposite, the one we put on the back side of this page, will actually fold over the pocket that we're going to have over here. Okay, so now that is all one unit. So let's put a little paper clip on there. Okay, might leave that one. And over here, Okay, over here, I'm gonna fold this page so that it meets itself at the top corner and the bottom corner. So at an angle all the way up to the top. Okay, just like that. And then I'm just gonna cut off this excess bit that's hanging over the opposite page. Doesn't have to be neat, you're not gonna see it. Okay, and I'm actually just gonna flip it under though. I'm gonna flip it completely to the back side, following that line that we just made. Okay, so we've got one page like that. All right, we can glue this part down though, so it's not flopping around. So I'll just do that with some wet adhesive here. And this will also add a little bit of stability to this fold when there's an extra layer. Okay, so I'll just fold that over. Okay, so we have one page that looks like that. And now the next page, we're gonna do the same thing, but in the opposite direction. So we're gonna go up. So we want it to kind of meet itself at this corner and at this opposite corner. Now that wasn't quite straight. Let's see if I can fix that just a little bit. Okay, that's close enough. Okay, so again, I'm just gonna cut off this extra bit here. Maybe just a tiny bit more. We just don't want it going into the crease between the pages. Is that gonna work? Yeah, perfect. Okay, so now I will tuck this the other way as well. Just behind, using that same line. Okay, and I'm gonna glue this little flap. Okay, so now we've got, this is going to be adhered down at the top, and it's going to create a pocket, and then this piece will be adhered down at the bottom and it will create another pocket. So these 3 pages will be adhered to make two pockets. Okay, so I'm going to put a paper clip on that. Okay, I'm going to leave one page blank. Here I think I will add one of those pieces that we scored right in half. Actually, I don't want to adhere it yet because I want pattern paper there. But I'm going to paper clip it here so that I know that that's kind of where I want it. And then we'll move to the next page. Let's see. Okay, so here on this one, I'm going to try to very carefully tear just to the center point. And then I'm going to fold it down. I want it to touch the bottom, so tear just enough so that you can bring it down to meet the edge at the bottom. Okay, and we are going to be adhering this just along this edge of the spine and the bottom. We can do that one now because this one's going to be easy to adhere. So just a thin line here, thin line there, and we're going to fold this down. Okay, and that creates a side pocket. Okay, it's just nice to have some pages that are like, you know, not full pages, just half pages. They're kind of fun. I'm gonna leave that one. I will make this one another one of those angle pockets that we did in the very beginning. I mean, you can even go a little bit less of an angle if you wanted to. You could just do like the top part here and just have a little bit of a fold, just enough that you could grab a tag. So completely up to you if you want to go full or not full. Okay, so we will clip that, paper clip that. Okay, between these two, I'm going to put one of these large ones that we scored with the 3/4 inch score line. I'm going to put some score tape and add it there. Fold the score line. Okay, and then I'm going to flip this one open, put it right there, and then close this one to adhere it. Okay, so it's going to go right on the edge of this page. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to add ATG gun all over this. Okay, and we're going to close this page so that the part that the score lines and everything is all hidden in between, and then we fold this over so we've just got like just an extra little flip out there. Let's leave that one and let's do a pocket going. So it's the same lengthwise fold we did before, but we'll adhere it to this page. Last time we adhered it to this page. So we're just having a pocket going a different direction is all. Almost through the book. And then we can start adding all the pattern paper and fun stuff. Okay, I'm going to add these two pages, adhere them to each other just to make them a little bit stronger, and then I'm going to cut them and show you another style of pocket that you can do. Okay. So now that these two are adhered together and they're just a little bit thicker, I'm going to cut it not quite in half, but so this is about half. I'm going to go down about 1 inch from that. Not doesn't have to be exact. Okay, and I'm going to cut all the way to the edge there, to the center. Okay, so for this top bit, I'm just going to cut another one of those little V's. Not even going to measure it this time. I'm just going to eyeball it. That looks pretty centered, I think. Yeah. And then down here, I'm just going to fold this bottom portion in just a little bit. Actually, I'm going to tuck it under. Okay, so for this bottom portion, I'm just going to put adhesive on the top and the bottom of this. Actually gonna adhere this down first. Come on, adhesive. Work with me. Okay, so I'm adhering down the flap. Okay, and then actually it'd be cute to do it on this side. I think, no, I'll keep it on the same side. Designing on the fly. Okay, so just a little bit of adhesive on the top and the bottom. Make sure that's out of the way, and we're just going to adhere that down. And so that's just going to be a cute little kind of tuck spot for like a bookmark sized something, just a cute little thing. And there was some cute bookmarks in this collection, so I might just put a couple of those in there. And then this one is going to be adhere down to the same page at the bottom and the one side, and it'll be a top loading pocket. Okay, make sure it does not interfere with that bottom one. Okay, fabulous. Oh, I meant to wait until I put the paper down. That's okay. We will make it work. That's why I've been waiting, because I want the clean edges from the paper. Now it's going to be a little bit tricky to put paper in there, but what is done is done. I don't know why I keep singing. Okay, and now with the few pages left, you can choose to do what it is you want to do with the few pockets that I've shown you, and if you did cut out a couple extra bits, you can use those. So design the last few pages as you like, and then we will start adding our patterned paper. Okay, so I've done some of it already. Any place that the page was just blank, I've put, where we didn't have any pockets or anything, I just put one of the journaling papers or just plain white paper. So I just put those on just with my ATG gun, and then I've left everywhere that there was a pocket or anything like that open so that we could do that together. So first pocket, I am going to glue down our tab, the part that we folded over. Okay, and then for the patterned paper, you're just going to cut one piece that is going to be big enough to fit on the underside under your pocket. So as long as it hits where your fold is, that's perfect. But before we cut the other one, so let's put this one on and then we'll cut the other one. I'm just going to adhere the pattern paper with my ATG gun. Now I won't be able to give you exact measurements of the papers that I'm adding because your book might not be the exact same size as mine. I mean, hopefully you've found one that fits the journal papers quite well, but it's hard to say if you have or not, so I can't give you an exact measurement. But now we can glue, oh, actually let's cut this first and then we'll glue that. So let's put a piece of paper underneath. Okay, so my camera ran out of space there, so I'm not sure what got missed. I just put a full piece of paper, the pattern paper, underneath, and then drew a line on the paper so I knew where to cut, and now we've got our perfect spot for our pocket. So now we can glue this pocket down. So we're just going to glue on this far edge here. and on the bottom. And then we can adhere our pocket piece. Oh, I meant to ink the edges of this beforehand. And I kind of like having a little bit of the book page showing. If you don't like that, you could make it a little bit more exact. And each time you add stuff, kind of smooth it down as you go, because there are going to be a lot of layers here. Okay, so this is the pocket where we have the double pocket. So, kind of cut some pieces to size here. First I'm gonna ink up the edges. And I'm also going to fold this just a little bit less because it's catching. Okay, so I'm going to ink up the edges before it's adhered. I don't know why I'm struggling with words right now. Ink up this one as well. Just to give it a little bit of oomph. Okay, and now we can adhere our flaps down. I'm just going to do it with my ATG gun. Okay, and I'm going to adhere this flap down. Just like that. Now we can add our pattern paper. So I'm going to start with the back piece. So you just want a piece that is big enough to just go under this first pocket. And then this is going to go here, and then this is going to go here. Okay, so we're going to adhere these three pieces on, and then we can glue the pockets down. Okay, so we're just going to be gluing on the top and bottom. Okay, so there's one, and then the other one. And I haven't been putting the wax paper or the parchment paper in between these as they've dried, but so far I've been okay and nothing's stuck together. So maybe I'm being neater than usual, I'm not quite sure. So that's that pocket page. Okay, oh, I left one of these not adhered, so I'll just adhere that. Okay, so here is where we've got that extra flap, and then we've got this pocket here. So what I've done is I have taken a small piece of pattern paper, just big enough to make sure that it will go the depth of the pocket there. And then with this one, we're just going to do the same thing we did on the other pocket. We're just going to place this in here and then just draw a line on the cardstock. Oh, that wasn't a very straight line. Draw a line on the cardstock where we need to cut. Hopefully yours is slightly straighter than mine. And this will just give us the right angle. Okay, so now that can be adhered. I'm just gonna leave this white. I might add something to it later, but I haven't quite decided. We could, actually, we need to adhere this down first. Getting ahead of myself. Okay, now we will glue this pocket down just on the two outside edges here. Okay, now we can adhere this gold piece. And if you want more white space, you can certainly add more just white paper to the pages and places to write. There's lots of ephemera in this collection that you can use to kind of decorate them. Okay, and then on the other side is just this white bit, and then I've got some of the paper, another journaling piece, journaling. Over here we've got another pocket. We've already glued that part down, so this is the double pocket. So I've got a piece of blue that I'm going to put as the background. So I will put that on now. We just want it long, like deep enough that it hits the point there, however deep you've made that. So let's adhere that part. Okay, and then I'm gonna have this gold stripe be each of these. So first we're gonna do this one first. So I'm just gonna hold this down and draw a line. Okay, so I'll cut that in half. You can use your paper trimmer if you'd prefer. I just like that this is a little bit more organic. Okay, so that one's gonna go there. So we can use this piece to mark out the size of this other piece that we need. So we'll just cut along the edge of that, and then it should fit. And then we'll ink our edges. Okay, so that should fit. Yep, perfect. All right, so let's ink our edges real quick, and then we'll add these and close the pocket. Yeah, I really wanted this project to be a little bit more like almost a little bit more junk journal-y, in the sense that it's just not so strict on things, very just going with the flow. Okay, so now we'll glue down this side here. So just that side goes down, just that top part. And then over here, it's just the bottom. I should probably be paper clipping these maybe along the way just so they have time to dry. I'm kind of moving a little fast here. Okay, over here, that one's just plain, and then over here, this is where I wanted to add a little card, so I'm just gonna, it's just the one that we folded in half, so I'm gonna put this little grouping of the stamps on there, and then glue it on. Alright, now you can decide where you want it on the page, if you want it straight, if you want it at a little bit of an angle, which is what I think I want to do. I want to put it at a bit of an angle. Just like that. Okay, and then that opens. I'm not using any magnets in here. Everything is just gonna kind of do what it does. Here's where we've got a little side pocket, so I'm just gonna measure what this ended up being and put some paper on there. Just gonna ink it up though while it's open. So I hope everybody's doing well. I haven't been around making videos the past couple weeks because I just went to a music festival, which was pretty incredible. My partner took me for my birthday, and I'm turning 50 in a week, which is crazy. Well, by the time this video comes out, my birthday will be past. I'm turning 50, and yeah, I went to an awesome music festival, and it was just so much fun. And I was so happy that I went, and it was a week long, well, technically 5 days. Technically 5 days. We camped, and there was about 6,000 people all camping for 5 days. So it was like a tent city. We were lucky to be camped fairly close to the stages. Some people had about a 25-minute walk to get to where they needed to go. But we were quite fortunate in that. And yeah, it was just really good to disconnect from social media and all that kind of stuff and just be free and enjoy life and not worry about anything besides what we were gonna wear. Because we had some pretty fantastic outfits, I'll tell you. Oh, we have to, okay, I'll ink this up real quick and then we'll glue the flap down. So let's glue this flap down. Oh, I grabbed my other glue bottle by accident, that's all right. Just do this. Okay, now we can adhere this blue piece. I'd say the festival was probably about, 85% of the people who were there were quite a bit younger than me, but there was a few of us that were a little bit older, so it was nice to see at least a few people my age. But I don't feel 50 at all. And I don't think I look 50 either. I think I'm doing all right. So happy about that. All right, so adding glue just to the side and the bottom. Close that up. Give it a little clip if you need to. So, I mean, I think you get the idea of what we're doing here. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, this is the one that has the flap. I haven't decided if I'm going to decorate that flap or not. This one I just added a piece going up. Over here we've got another pocket. So I'll do this one with you, and then I'll probably leave you to do the rest because there's only a few more and they're all in the same vein. I think the big thing was the triangle pockets. I just wanted to show you how to measure the paper for that. I wanted to make something that felt really accessible to anyone. Like anyone can go to the thrift store or the recycling depot. Like I went to my local recycling depot and they have a free bin of books. So that's where I got mine. You know, you can get a book from anywhere and just make it into something all new. All right, so gluing this at the top and the bottom. All right, there we go. So we're gonna have a lot of pocket space. So luckily there's a lot of cool things in this collection that we can put into the pockets, or you could just put white in the pockets. Okay, this one here, I'll show you this one as well because this one was a little bit funky. So we've got this bottom pocket here. Now, because I accidentally glued this one down already, I can't put a full piece inside the pocket, which is a little bit disappointing. I'm bummed that I did that, but it is what it is. So it's just going to be a slightly smaller piece because the glue makes it so that you know, the whole pocket isn't quite open. That makes sense. And then up here, so I've just tucked this piece into the pocket so we can do what we've been doing all along and just draw along this edge so you know where to cut. And then this is going to sit inside the pocket. So I'm just kind of letting my fingers be behind it until I'm ready to let it adhere, and there we go. Now I'll cut this piece. See how well that fits. Looks pretty good. Alright, I might do a little bit of inking just to this is just to distress it a little bit. This is another one of those cards that I was just going to put here. So just fill in all of your pockets and add whatever it is you want to add in there. And then we'll show you, after that I'll show you how to do the cover. I'm not doing anything super fancy with the cover. I'm just going to paint it so that it's a different color and then put on the papers that I showed you in the beginning. So I'm not going to do anything too fancy to it because I just want those papers to shine. Okay, now I can glue down this pocket. Do I want it to be a pocket or just a flap? You know what? I think I'm just going to make this one a flap and not a pocket. I kind of wish that I'd put this up there instead. Maybe I can move it up. Yeah, okay, I'm just going to put pattern paper on this other side because I like it as a pocket or as a free flap. Okay, and then the last two pages, oh, that's it actually. So we did go through the whole thing. Perfect. Yeah, amazing. Okay, so, well, I might as well add this piece of paper and then we'll do the cover. Okay, so let me show you what I'm doing on the cover. So first I just did, because the cover was green, I didn't want a green cover because it didn't really seem to match the vibe of what I was going for. So I painted the whole thing with white gesso, and now I'm just adding a bit of gold to the edges because the paper has like a bit of a gold outline. So I'm just adding a couple layers of gold paint just around the outside and on the spine. Then all we have left to do is put stuff in the pockets, maybe add a few extra little embellishments, and then we're done. So we're right at the end. Definitely gonna have to do a couple coats of this. I think I'm gonna also go just a little bit on the edge of the cover here. And again, I want it to feel a little bit rustic, so I'm not aiming for perfection. Perfection is overrated, I think. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry. I'll do one more coat. Add things in my pockets, and I've got a few pieces that I have cut out here that I might add in little places, who knows, just to decorate some of the pages. I probably won't use all of that, but I'll use some of it. And other than that, that's the project. That's our altered book. I think it turned out really, really well. If you want to see any of the details that I add, you can just rewind and go back to the very beginning where I do the flip through. If you want to take a more detailed look at that. Yay! We did it! We altered a book and made it into something cool and gave it new life. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope that you will check out more of my tutorials. I have quite a few now with Vectoria Designs, as well as many other album tutorials and clay tutorials on my own channel. If you are watching this on my channel, Lunar Sun Creations, I hope that you'll consider giving me a little boop of that subscribe button, or a like, or a comment. And I hope you're having a beautiful day. I will see you again very soon. Big hugs, love and light.